ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I did hover around the circles and I did eavesdrop. And I don't feel bad about it because I told you I was going to do that. And I simply want to say to you that the conversations were beautiful, they were inspiring, they were substantial, they were very human. And I felt, even as the person who was outside of your circle, I felt connected to the energy in those circles. Oh, just had gooseflesh when I said that. Whew. Yeah, and no matter how many times we come together in community like this, and especially at Partners Possibility gatherings, I am reminded of how awesome we are as humans and how we tend to forget that. And I think moments like these create the space and the time for us to just reconnect, not only with ourselves, but also with our fellow humans. And I think if we can keep creating these kinds of moments of gathering and connectedness, it buoys us for when we go back to where we come from tonight and to our own lives, and as citizens of this country showing up, doing the work that we do, wherever we are. When we have that energy and we can contain it with ourselves and within ourselves, to really be able to look for the other people who are also holding that kind of energy and to connect with them and to share. Because I know from the 7 odd years of working in this program and working in partnership, it is what's possible. And if you know neuroscience, you'll understand how our brains work. And actually what happens to us when we keep doing this is we get hooked on our feel-good hormones. And they say, ladies and gentlemen, that feeling is better than the feeling when you have chocolate. There is one other thing, but I can't say it, we're in a school. There you go, you're all back in the room. Okay. So we're coming to the last part of our celebration event this evening, and we've invited someone really special to South Africa. He's very special in my life, Africa Melane. I don't need to introduce him. When he starts talking, you'll all know that you know him, because he's an amazing host on radio. Africa also works very much in community. We all know him from the Lead SA campaign. But he's a great supporter of citizenship and a great supporter of people who get on and do. And while we do, we get the opportunity to create and contribute. And Africa has been asked this evening just to come and share a few of his observations, because remember what I said, he was also eavesdropping. But he's in media, so one never knows what he's going to come up with. I'm going to have to trust him as we trust our Partner for Possibility process, that Africa Melane will just be Africa Melane. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Melane there for a moment made it sound like I was flying in from somewhere outside of South Africa. I'm from Gugulethu, brought up by an incredible teacher who really gave me the honor of learning how to write my name when I was 3 years old. And she'd get me sitting next to her while she was doing her prep work for the next day and say, here, do this. And so I could write my name out without even knowing what it is that I was doing. And at the time, I did not realize the privilege, obviously, I had in having a teacher as a parent. My dad is a school headmaster, or retired now, from the Eastern Cape, so certainly feels some of the challenges that many of the principals here are feeling. I do feel slightly aggrieved, I must say. One, Priscilla decided to do the talk I was going to do, which is difficult. And let me just echo your feeling. Standing in front of principals is definitely a daunting experience altogether. But to just, I suppose, reiterate 1 or 2 things of what you said there earlier, partnerships are important. And we certainly need each other to be the most effective we can be. Sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that if we had better campuses, we'd actually contribute more positively to education. It's not about that. It's about what's in the heart. No doubt, having resources makes what you do every day easier. There's no question about that. But if the teacher is not motivated, if the teacher is not inspired, if he or she is not walking into a room and creating a learning environment, then we are failing our children. You could be teaching under a tree in Limpopo, and you'll still be inspiring a future scientist, which is something that we've celebrated in recent history in South Africa. Having said that, here are the controversial stuff. There should not be any pit latrines anywhere in this country. I was having a very, very difficult conversation with a friend of mine, and he made the statement that Cyril Ramaphosa should have apologized to South Africa for the 9 years of Jacob Zuma. I disagreed with him slightly, because I think the good work that him and his administration is going to do moving forward, hopefully is going to be an apology enough. What I do think they should have apologized for is the horrific manner within which they dealt with education. In 1994, we were gifted, or rather we gifted the world an incredible miracle, right? To have forgiveness, reconciliation playing itself out on a world stage. If I were in the leadership of the ANC then, the number one thing I would have focused on is education, because there is no better tool. Yes, home is important. Having access to water is important. Restoring dignity to people is important. But there is no better thing we could have gifted the people of South Africa than good quality education. And my word, did we mess it up. We really, really messed it up, experimenting on a whole number of things, which many years later we have realized actually has not been in the best interest of our country. And it's now left to us to try and fix it in a way that we can, in order for future generations not to really live through the same plight as we are. So the ANC owes us an apology for the way they treated education, and you can tweet that. The other controversial statement, which is something that Priscilla alluded to, we are fighting the wrong fight. The Fees Must Fall campaign, while its intention was good, was the wrong fight. We should have been fighting for my 4-year-old nephew, who is growing up in Gugulethu, being brought up beautifully by his parents, whose future has already been determined because of his background. The fact that his parents will not be able to afford to take him to a good prep school, and therefore a good primary school, and therefore an excellent high school, means that he's going to be fighting for the same job and for the same place at UCT that a 4-year-old growing up in Rondebosch is going to be fighting for. And that is unfair. Because I totally hold on to the belief and the theory that if you teach your child, particularly in the foundation phases, in their mother tongue, they will comprehend the concepts of education much better. So I want him to learn in isiXhosa, certainly for the first 7-9 years of his schooling. And coupled with that should be good quality English and good quality Afrikaans language teaching, so that when we have the opportunity to take him to a school outside of Gugulethu, when the time comes, he's not going to be sinking. It is unfair that my nephew, 4 years old, in 2018, his future is predetermined by a system that is failing the people of South Africa. So that's why I say it's a wrong fight. I'm glad that first years who are qualifying are getting free higher education from university, but that for me was definitely the wrong fight to be fighting, and we should have been fighting another one. And then my last controversial statement. A lot of people make reference to the STEM schools, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and while all of that is important, I do not take away any single sort of theory or study or whatever that proves that if we do that, we create a better country. I happen to serve on a board of Cape Town Opera. I happen to be on the panel of judges for the Flair Cup Theatre Awards. Guys, we cannot take away the importance of arts education. We cannot take away the importance of social science education, because how the hell are we going to teach each other humanity if all we teach is science and mathematics? That landed well. What I've learned here this evening is that there's no reinventing the wheel. There is no new idea. The idea is already existing out there. In my group, in fact, an example was made that Sunday-led F&B will be given 10, 15 years of development in preparation for him to be the CEO of F&B one day, whereas Ridwan was an arts teacher the one day and a principal the next day, without any required sort of training that actually would prepare him for the role of being a principal, because those are additional experiences that you need. I think the lady in the green was sort of sharing a similar experience where she had been teaching in the school for a long time, got the opportunity to be a principal. Luckily enough, she surrounded herself with an incredible senior management team of young people who are actually responsive to change and responsive to what needs to be done. Lovely idea of a good deed jar. I don't think we celebrate enough the achievement that we need to enjoy every day. Because sometimes in some areas, and we know this, a child getting up in the morning, getting to school safely and getting back, that is an achievement because of the environment that they're finding themselves in. And then to be able to have the opportunity to teach them a little bit of maths, a little bit of art, science, a little bit of that, that's an additional achievement. To get them coming back the next day having done their homework. And can we ban homework already? Seriously? Like, I see how the principals were not clapping on that one. My feeling with homework is that sometimes the teacher does not have the opportunity to cover all of the curriculum during school time, so therefore you need to take a couple of hours at night in order for you to catch up. And I know it's probably unfair of me to say this, as opposed to allowing the child the freedom to actually use the time at home to revise. Once again, back to my mother, who I had the privilege of having a teacher at home. She used to say to me, for the next half an hour, you will teach me what you were taught at school. And so for half an hour, I'm literally covering whatever subject matter I choose. For the next 20 minutes, she'll give me a piece of paper, newspaper, read that, and then we'll have a comprehension test. It had absolutely nothing to do with what I did that morning in school, but it had absolutely everything to do with it, because I'm learning, and you're just reinforcing the culture of learning in the home environment. We cannot, and you know this, really turn the education system around without the vital participation of parents. When I was in high school, 95% of the parent body used to show up for school meetings. And if you didn't, you needed to give notice to the principal ahead of time, and the excuse had to be good enough for you to be excused from that meeting. Nowadays, you can't even get a quorum for an SGB to be elected. Where have we lost the plot? And I really do not know where that is. I'm going to finish off with an inspiration from Denzel Washington. Who else? In the movie The Great Debaters, he dropped a line that he uses in his own sort of family environment. Forrest Whitaker plays a professor who tells his son, who's a sort of school-going age, that he has to do what he has to do today so that he can do whatever he wants to do tomorrow, which is something that has stayed with me forever. Because if we all did what we have to do today, imagine the landscape of opportunity that our kids will have to do whatever the hell they choose to do tomorrow. But it's us doing the right thing today. We have to set the vision, we have to lead by example, we have to do the right thing always, we have to learn every day, because you don't stop learning. The minute you stop learning is when you're going 6 feet under. You don't stop learning. And there's no better gift that we can give to our children than education. But most importantly, can we all just have a hell of a lot of fun doing it? Yeah. Because if it isn't fun, then what's the point, right? Thank you very much, guys. You guys are doing amazing work. It truly is inspiring. Thank you. And can we just say happy 700 schools to Partners for Possibility. Well done to you. And certainly all the best for your consideration for WISE, which is an international award in education. Well done. Thank you.